Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Just the Dis. My name is Brian, and I talk about Blu-rays here. And I got a bunch of stuff to talk about in this collection update, ranging from some new stuff from Indicator to Arrow to Scream Factory to 88 Films, and we'll see how much further we get with this one. But let's jump into it with some new stuff from Indicator, and I have 4 single titles, and I'll start with An Unsuitable Job for a Woman. Now, this is a film by Christopher Pettit, who I just recently became familiar with as a filmmaker with his, I believe, debut feature, Radio On, which was put out by Fun City Editions, and which I very much enjoyed. And this is his, I think, follow-up to that one. And, you know, the cover looks better now that I'm looking at it here. But, like, I don't think I saw... Well, you know what? Part of it has to do with that I've seen the movie. Because that title doesn't necessarily grab me in a way that I would have necessarily thought this is going to be my favorite of the 4 releases they put out, you know, at this juncture with this group. But it is. And that's because it is a detective movie. And it's based on a novel by P.D. James. And it's really intriguing because it is a detective movie that, as you can tell from the title, is about a female detective played by Pippa Gard, who has like some young Gillian Anderson / Isabelle Huppert kind of vibes with her look and her energy. And I liked her a lot as this character. Yeah, she's very good. In fact, Christopher Pettit in the features talks about wanting to cast Isabelle Huppert, but that the producers balked at the idea because she's a French actress and this is an English film. And anyway, I think Pippa Gard does a good job. The idea is basically Pippa Gard works with a detective. It's like she and this one other girl working for this detective. She comes into work one morning, goes across the hall. It's like there's 2 offices. There's the detective's office and then the secretary office or assistant's office. And she goes across the hall and she finds the detective that she works for has killed himself. And so she's understandably, you know, a little bummed out. And, you know, at that moment, basically when she's sorting out him having killed himself, Billy Whitelaw shows up. And she is asking about potential help with a case. And at first, you know, Pippa Gard's character just says, well, he's dead, so he can't help. And then she's like, well, you know what? I can help. So she takes on the case. And Billy Whitelaw is hiring her on behalf of this guy she works for, played by Paul Freeman, who is Belloc in Raiders of the Lost Ark, but a very cool actor that I like in other films. And he's so actually both are in Hot Fuzz, by the way, both Paul Freeman and Billy Whitelaw. So a little Hot Fuzz pre-movie thing. But anyway, so she goes to see Paul Freeman, and he says that his son has killed himself, and he wants to know why. And so she starts looking into the son, and he had sort of started living at this little cottage. The Paul Freeman character is sort of a rich developer of some kind, like a real estate or, I don't know, contracting. I can't exactly tell. But he's well-to-do, and there's money involved with his wife, now dead, and son, and inheritances, and things like that. And so she starts to, you know, poke around and start to figure out things about his life, and it's interesting. It's a really interesting movie and an enjoyable detective yarn, and it goes places I didn't expect, and I dug it. So Christopher Pettit, for me, definitely a director that I'm digging at this point. And this is a new restoration from a 4K scan of the original negative by Powerhouse Films. They did their own restoration for this Indicator release. and it has something called Mise en Scène of the Crime, which is a 30-minute interview with Christopher Pettit. Looks back on the origins and making of his second feature. And that's interesting because he does talk about some issues he had with this production, and I think ultimately he's not as satisfied with the film as he'd like to be because there were a lot of producers, a lot of cooks in the kitchen creatively, and I think that didn't allow him to go and do everything he would have liked to have done. And he goes into some specifics of things that he wanted to do that didn't end up panning out. So I think this is a mixed feeling film for him, but I absolutely dug it. A Bridge Too Far, actor Dominic Gard discusses his role, co-starring as one of the family members, or with the family members in the film. That's a good interview. Absolute Fascination, 32 minutes. Producer Don Boyd provides an in-depth account of the creation of the film. And a trailer, VHS trailer, 36-page booklet featuring a new essay by Claire Monk, an archival essay by Christopher Pettit, production reports, and making of the film, etc. And this is a world premiere Blu-ray. So there is our lovely booklet and the alternate artwork. But yeah, I definitely dug that. Full-on Discovery type deal for me. Next up we have Voices. This one is from 1973. I should have mentioned Unsuitable Job for a Woman is from 1982. Voices is from 1973. This stars David Hemmings and Gail Honeycutt, and it's very interesting. A movie I vaguely had heard of, but had definitely never seen, and it has some things in common with stuff like Don't Look Now and Images, well, Altman's Images, I would say, in that it's, you're dealing with child loss and sort of psychological thriller / just people coming apart kind of thing. And so it's David Hemmings and Gail Honeycutt are married. They have an incident at the beginning of the film where they lose their son, and then they have sort of a reunion where I don't want to give away too much, but like we see them later, and they are taking this road trip to go and see this house that she's been left, and it's kind of a spooky old mansion-y house in the English countryside. And so they go out there, and another thing that's interesting about this film is that it's shot in 35 millimeter when it's outside the house, and then when it's inside the house, it's shot on video, but like the old British video that looks like, Doctor Who episodes of the period or something. It's interesting to see it transferred because it still has a certain grain to it, and it gives the inside of the house scenes this very interesting, distinct feeling. And I like that. And the two of these actors are good together, and it's a very psychological film. It's very much like it's based on a play from the play by Richard Loritz. And so you can kind of feel that. It's kind of a two-hander with just Gail Honeycutt and David Hemmings sort of rehashing what's happened to them, and things start getting creepy in this house. And that's all I'm really going to say about it, because I really think it's one to watch. And there are some talk about comparisons to other movies, specifically one that I'm definitely not going to mention and not even hint at in terms of why, because I feel like once your mind gets going on that stuff, then you can kind of figure out where this might be going, and I don't want to do that. So I don't know. I like both of them a lot as actors, and so I dug this movie. This is a really interesting it's sort of psychological thriller. New restoration from a 4K scan of the original Separation Masters by Powerhouse Films. Authentic presentation of this unique mixed media production, which combines film shot and video captured material. Audio commentary with writers and film experts Barry Forshaw and Kim Newman. Always fantastic. This is no exception. Wide Boys, 2022, 18 minutes. Film historian Vic Pratt charts the ups and downs of John Daly and David Hemmings' production company Hemdale. And Moan Brave, 8 minutes, 2022. Filmmaker Peter Crane recalls his personal and professional relationship with Hemmings. Voices from the Past, 2022, 4 minutes. A look at the challenge of restoring voices. And then exclusive 36-page booklet featuring a new essay by Julian Upton, archival interviews with actors Hemmings and Gail Honeycutt, a look at the source play, and more. World Blu-ray premiere booklet. Alternate artwork is just without the powerhouse indicator banner at the top, which I love, so I would never change that out. Okay. Next up, we have one called The Devil's Men. I think it's also known as Land of the Minotaur or something like that. Yeah. From 1976, starring Donald Pleasance and Peter Cushing. And this is fun. It's a small European village infested with Satan worshippers kind of movie. And we have Donald Pleasance playing a priest who catches wind of some disappearances of young people, usually couples. And he tries to report this to the local village authorities of this nearby village. It's not where he lives, but some of the people he knows have gone there to this village because there's some archaeological significance I won't go into. And the head of police there wants nothing to do with it. Basically, don't tell me how to do my job, blah, blah, blah. But of course, we see pretty quickly that Peter Cushing is this local baron that sort of, is the hot shot in this village. He also runs this cult of Minotaur Satan worshippers who wear like black hooded costumes. They also wear white and blue. And I think there's a significance, like the young people wear the white and older higher ups wear the black. I don't know. I can't tell the difference, but it's one of those movies where these young people keep investigating the cult and they keep getting, some of them getting killed, sacrificed. We get to see a sacrifice at the very beginning of the film where a child actually kills somebody. But it's one of those, like, this whole village is creepy and everybody's in on it kind of, movies. And Pleasance is definitely channeling Loomis before Loomis. And it, because he'll speak in that, like, it's your funeral kind of tone. It just reminded me a lot of the Loomis character, although this guy's a priest. But yeah, enjoyable, stuff. He invites a detective friend of his from New York, this guy, white-haired guy, over to help, and they try to take on these Satan worshippers. And will they succeed? You never know. But yeah, this is enjoyable in that vein. And it is a new 2K restoration from the original negative, 2 presentations of the film. You get The Devil's Men, 94 minutes, the original cut, and then Land of the Minotaur, 86 minutes, the shorter U.S. theatrical version. These Satan worshippers have a giant cement minotaur that rises up out of the floor in their, their worshiping chamber, and he breathes fire out his nose, and they hear this booming voice from the minotaur giving them awful advice and such. Yeah, it's intriguing for sure. Audio commentary with critics and authors David Flint and Adrian J. Smith. That's brand new. The John Player Lecture with Peter Cushing, 1973, 92 minutes. Archival audio recording of the legendary actor in conversation with David Castell at the National Film Theatre in London. This Life and the Next, 22, that's brand new, 2022, 8 minutes. Producer Phrixos Constantine reflects on the working with the great actors and making the film. Feature-length Super 8 version, 94 minutes. Let's see here. 36-page booklet featuring a new essay by Andrew Graves, archival interview with star Donald Pleasance, extract from original promotional materials, world premiere on Blu-ray. Cushing. yeah, so this one is fun, like Hammer adjacent, but like modern day more. I don't know. Enjoyable stuff. Lastly, we have Bartleby, a film by Anthony Friedman, of course, based on the short story by Herman Melville. Yes, that Herman Melville. And it stars Paul Scofield as the title character. Now, of course, if you're aware of Crispin Glover's career at all, you realize that in, I think, 2001, another adaptation of this story was made in a much more comedic vein, I think. This is not so funny as much as it's just an odd, dreamy drama with, I don't want to, there's not really thriller aspects, but there's just a sense of unease about it. And the idea is that basically Bartleby plays this guy. Bartleby is this guy. Paul Scofield is Bartleby, who gets hired at an accounting firm, I think. He's a little bit of an odd character. And at some point in his employ, he decides that he doesn't want to do certain kinds of things. And so he starts telling his boss, I'd prefer not to. And that becomes almost like a mantra for him, something that comes up a lot and starts causing a lot of problems at work because other employees, there's a few other employees that work in this small office, and they start to go, well, why can he not do work? Like, why am I supposed to do his work because he'd prefer not to? And this sort of social protest just grows and grows and gets almost to the point of absurdism in terms of like, how to deal with a guy like that. Do you fire him? What happens when you fire him? What else is going on? What else is this guy doing? Anyway, I don't want to give anything else away, but fascinating story, fascinating performance by Paul Scofield. He almost feels like an alien or something. It's really an interesting take on this story. So anyway, very interesting film from 1970. This is a new restoration from a 4K scan of the original negative by Powerhouse Films, and has an audio interview with writer-director Anthony Friedman. That's 15 minutes. Bartleby's London, 4-minute, an exploration of Bartleby's locations. And Beat the Bomber, 1975, 16 minutes, anti-terrorism documentary short written directed by Anthony Friedman. Bartleby 2017, 12 minutes, stop-motion animation version of the Melville story directed by Kristen Key and Laura Naylor. Animation time-lapse footage from Bartleby 2017. Let's see here. Exclusive 36-page booklet featuring new essay by Jeff Billington, archival interviews with Paul Scofield and writer-director Anthony Friedman. World premiere on Blu-ray. There's your alternate. And I should say that all 4 of these are all region. They're all region discs. So that's cool. So you can get these stateside, and I do recommend them, especially an Unsuitable Job for a Woman. Very enjoyable stuff from Indicator. Next up, we have one that I snagged from Diabolic DVD. This is Deadly Games. And this is a special limited slipcase edition I got, which has like a little passage on the back. Interesting. But yeah, so I like that slipcase. Here is the cover of this one. Now, this is sold as a slasher, but it's more of a small coastal town thriller. Although it opens with a sort of intense slashery kill of this woman at a remote house, and that sort of triggers everything that's happening. Sam Groom, an actor I like very much from Deadly Eyes, is here as a cop who's on the case trying to solve this murder. And then you have Steve Railsback as his buddy, sort of an asthmatic with a limp who works at a big old movie palace that nobody seems to go to, but they still play movies somehow. and he and Sam Groom play this like really cool like Universal Monsters game. It's like a dice-based game with cards and stuff, and I think they made it up for the movie, and it's pretty cool. I kind of want to play the game. Pretty awesome, actually. But so anyway, if you're looking for a slasher, this one gets a little bogged down in sort of the soap opera of this small town. You know, you have this woman coming back, and she, you know, is her sister has been killed. And so she's sort of roped into this murder thing, and then she sees some old friends that she used to know in high school, and so they're hanging out, and so then it'll get just sort of caught up in this small town drama for a little while, and then the thriller aspects or the slasher aspects will reappear. And I don't know why, but this was totally my kind of thing. Like, I can't say that this is going to be everybody's thing, and based on the Letterboxd research that I've done, it's definitely not everybody's thing. But for me, it was like a really fun discovery, and I just like those kind of movies where you can kind of get lost in the other kind of movie that's happening, and then suddenly get a little nice surprise when the thrillery or slashery things crop up again. And that's sort of what this is for me. And Sam Groom is just an actor like that I enjoy, and so him at the front of a movie is, and Railsback too for that matter. But there's like a really good cast here. Joanne Harris is the sister of the girl, and she's great, just like really charming and like a quirky character, like quirky in a way that I find really appealing, like not annoyingly quirky. She's just kind of an oddball, and she starts hanging out with Sam Groom and Steve Railsback, and it's just like a really interesting take on that kind of character. Like, she's just got an odd sense of humor, and it's really unique and not cookie cutter in that way. And I think that's the other thing that allows the movie to be continually entertaining for me, is that side of it. But yeah, good stuff. Like, a really, I dug it. Brand new 2K restoration from the original camera negative. Let's see, you have brand new audio commentary with Hysteria Continues. Sooty is a S. Brand new interview with actor Jerry Ray Mansfield. She's one of the characters. She's sort of a snooty gal that lives in this town, and she plays a fun character there. Practical Magic, a brand new interview with special effects and stunt coordinator John Eggett. Extensive image gallery, etc. And you got a booklet and an extra card. 5 Shaolin Masters may be coming. Maybe part of Shaw Brothers 2 or something. I don't know. And there's that other artwork. But yeah, nice little surprise from Arrow in Deadly Games from 1980, I guess. Or 81. All region. But yeah, dug this. For me, worth a pickup. Next up, we have The Howling 4K. This from Scream Factory. And I already had, and I've already featured the Howling Studio Canal Import 4K. And like, I wasn't able to do a side by side, but like, it's clear that based on this, the transfer, as it mentions here, a new 2021 4K restoration by Studio Canal, I think is the same scan. And so they looked the same-ish to me. Like, I'm just not a great judge of that stuff. But I think you have some different extras. This one has an Inside the Career of Joe Dante and Welcome to Werewolf Land, Creature Designers, the Frankenstein Complex documentary. So like, that's like a whole other movie that this doesn't have. But this has all the, Scream Factory features. So you get your audio commentary with director Joe Dante, actors Dee Wallace, Christopher Stone, and Robert Picardo. I don't see that on this one. Yeah. I'm going to have to just get rid of that. So then you have audio commentary by author Gary Brandner. You have like interview with Dee Wallace, interview with executive producer Stephen A. Lane, cut to shreds, interview with editor Mark Goldblatt, who I'm a big fan of, interviews with co-writer Terrence H. Winkless and stop-motion animator David Allen, Unleashing the Beast, the making of the Howling vintage featurette, making a monster movie inside the Howling vintage featurette, deleted scenes with optional commentary, Horror's Hallowed Grounds, a look at the film's locations, trailers from Hell with Josh Olson. So a really well put together special edition of the Howling on 4K. No alternate artwork. That's okay. I've always liked this artwork. But yeah, if you're looking for the 4K, it doesn't look like you need to import. If you don't want to, you can just grab the Scream Factory 4K Ultra HD of the Howling. Then we have another 4K. We have Escape from LA, John Carpenter's follow-up to his cult classic Escape from New York. And I know this is kind of a goofy movie and it's not one that everybody loves, but I happen to dig it. I love the silliness of it. I don't even mind some of the cheap computer effects, although 4K doesn't do them any favors necessarily. But this definitely looks good. And it's just one of those that I've been a fan of since it came out, and yeah, it's got some fun stuff to it, you know. I mean, in the cast stuff alone, from like, you know, Peter Fonda to Steve Buscemi to Pam Grier, Stacy Keach, Cliff Robertson, Bruce Campbell in a very interesting face prosthetic role. Yeah, it's pretty fun. After a 9.6 quake levels most of Los Angeles, Snake is called to wade through the ruins to retrieve a doomsday device. Now more explosive than ever in 4K Ultra HD, this outrageous thriller finds Snake surfing Wilshire Boulevard, shooting hoops at the Coliseum, dive bombing the Happy Kingdom theme park, and mixing it up with a wild assortment of friends and foes. But yeah, you know, if you're a fan, this is definitely worth a look, worth grabbing. I mean, I'm glad to have it in the collection, even though I have, I want to say I have a Scream Factory version of Escape from LA. Anyway, that is the new 4K from Paramount, Escape from LA. Then we have some stuff from MVD. We have Liar's Moon. This is part of the MVD Rewind Collection, and it has that lovely retro VHS with the stickers on it kind of look. And then, of course, the inside cover does not have that. But this was a new one to me, directed by a guy named David Fisher, and starring Cindy Fisher and Matt Dillon, as well as a whole bunch of other folks. Hoyt Axton plays Matt Dillon's dad. Yvonne DiCarlo is also here. Maggie Bly, Susan Tyrrell, Broderick Crawford, Richard Mall with hair. And this movie is like set in the 40s in Texas, sort of a star-crossed romance type story where Matt Dillon plays a, you know, poorish kid who is working with his dad, Hoyt Axton, and he sort of falls for this rich girl played by Cindy Fisher, whose dad is a banker and who wants him to have nothing to do with his daughter. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's kind of like they go off on a little adventure together, and it's one of those, there's a little bit of like a Buster and Billy vibes to this, but like lighter. It's not as dark as that. Although the alternate ending is really interesting, that they show what way the movie could have gone, and I'm sure you can imagine where it goes, and I should have. But it was interesting to watch that as part of the special features. But a good performance by Matt Dillon in a movie that I wasn't really on my radar, honestly. And yeah, Cindy Fisher's good. I remember her from, I want to say Bad Ronald, but she's in some other stuff too. She's got kind of a Laura Dern thing happening, you know, but they're good together. Good little romance. Yeah, but Richard Mall as a creepy, skeevy detective with hair that's sent to look for. Well, anyway, I won't tell you what's happening with this, but like I said, enjoyable period movie. 40s Texas for the most part is the setting, although there are some shifts in that location. But this is another one of those really in-depth MVD Rewind Collection sets where you have a making of Liar's Moon that's like 105 minutes where they talk to writer-director David Fisher, co-writer Janice Thompson, actress Tanya Walker, composer, songwriter Ray Benson, Jean Hanna, the wife of producer Billy Hanna, and the production manager Susan Volfang, and set decorator Maria Casso. So it's like a feature-length documentary, mostly Zoom interviews, talking about the making of the film, how it was financed, and how it came together. Fascinating stuff for a movie I wasn't really aware of. The music of Liar's Moon, 14 minutes. The composer Ray Benson and director David Fisher talking about the music. Nice special edition. Good-looking transfer and a nice slipcase from MVD Rewind Collection. That is Liar's Moon from 1981, I want to say. Yeah. And then also from, this is from 88 Films, part of their a sort of Shaw Brothers / Asian cinema line. This is Legendary Weapons of China from 1982. And this one is fun because it's kind of crazy. It's like just kind of a crazy movie with, like, we get to see the legendary weapons in this great like montage like set piece at the beginning with, I think it's sort of a black room with this one actor martial artist like pulling all the weapons off this giant rack, and you get to see them sort of used, and you get a sense of what you're going to see in terms of the weapons. But it is a movie that's sort of not making fun of, but sort of making fun of martial arts films at the time, because it is so late period in terms of that. When the former member of a failing sorcery kung fu order threatens to destroy the remaining group's reputation, an elite band of assassins is dispatched to silence him forever. Written, directed, and starring Lu Chi Lang, the Spiritual Boxer 2. This gloriously fast-paced drama, which entertainingly mixes swordplay and hand-to-hand combat, is in a fabulously furious, rollicking adventure, weaves its own special kind of magic. Like I said, pretty crazy stuff, as you can even just tell from some of these images on the back. Let's see. This has a booklet, double-sided fold-out poster, HD remaster from original 35mm negative in 2:35:1 aspect ratio, English and Cantonese with newly translated English subtitles, audio commentary with Asian cinema experts Mike Leader and Arnie Venema, audio commentary with cinema expert Frank Zhang, 18 Weapons, David West on Legendary Weapons of China. That's a cool little interview where he sort of talks about how the movie's sending up other martial arts films and has a great historical context to it. Gordon at Shaw, interview with actor Gordon Liu by Frederick Ambrosine. Titus at Shaw, interview with producer Titus Ho by Frederick Ambrosine. And reversible artwork, etc. There's your nice fold out and your little booklet there. And the reversible artwork looks like that. Yeah, this is this line that 88 Films has been doing for a long time is a lot of fun stuff, and it's familiarizing me with a lot of kung fu films that I wasn't really aware of, or I maybe had heard the title one time, but like now seeing them in these wonderful presentations on Blu-ray is really special. So next up, lastly, I have The Flag of Iron, another 88 Films Asian cinema, line release. This one from 1980. And, equally fun, as you can see from the cover art, which is really great, in terms of the weapons and swordplay and flags and all kinds of fun stuff happening in this one as well. This is another cult classic from the Shaw Brothers studio. The Flag of Iron is a quintessential Hong Kong tale of rivals, betrayal, and family feuds. When the master of the Iron Flag clan is killed by a mysterious assassin known as the Wanderer, it sets off an explosive chain of events which pits brothers against each other in an action-packed adventure of fist-flying fury. Well said. Directed by Chang Che, the one-armed swordsman, Five Deadly Venoms. Some great lineage there. This kinetic and highly influential kung fu picture mixes traditional storytelling with more modern presentation techniques, layering acrobatics, the use of exotic weaponry, and quick-as-lightning fight sequences to produce a surefire, entertaining hit which no serious collector of martial arts movies can be without. I agree with that. So you have, again, double-sided fold-out poster, HD remaster of original 35mm negatives in 235:1, English mono, Mandarin mono, newly translated subtitles, new audio commentary with Asian cinema experts Mike Leader and Arnie Venema, and reversible sleeve. And this is region A and B, as is Legendary Weapons. There's our there's our booklet and our poster of that cool artwork. And the reverse. So good stuff from 88 Films, continuing their great Asian cinema line with Legendary Weapons of China and the Flag of Iron. And that's it. That'll do it for this episode of the show. I thank you greatly for spending the time, if you watch all the way to the end or listen. And I hope you have a wonderful week. And I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.